Manager humiliates black intern in front of client, unaware of who the client really is. Jamal stood at the front of the sleek conference room at Tech Innovations, his heart pounding as he opened his laptop. The room buzzed with chatter, filled with colleagues awaiting the presentation of his innovative app designed to improve workplace communication. A giant screen loomed behind him, the bright logo of his app gleaming like a beacon of hope. He took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm brewing inside him. Among the seated audience was Mr. Thompson, his supervisor, who sat with his arms crossed and a smirk on his face, already preparing to undermine Jamal's confidence. The man seemed to thrive on intimidation, and Jamal could feel the weight of his gaze like a vice pressing down on him. He pushed aside the unease, focusing on the task at hand. "Good morning, everyone," Jamal began, projecting his voice to fill the room. "Thank you for being here today. I'm excited to present an app that I believe can significantly enhance our team's communication and productivity." He glanced at Ms. Carter, the director of operations, who nodded encouragingly from her seat. This small gesture bolstered his resolve. He moved to the laptop, clicking through the slides that he had painstakingly prepared for this moment. Just as he began to explain the app's features, its streamlined interface, the ability to send instant messages, and integrated task management, Mr. Thompson interrupted him with a loud, mocking laugh. "Come on, Jamal. Do you really think this is going to impress Ms. Carter? Maybe stick to taking notes." The room fell silent, and Jamal felt the air thicken with tension. Colleagues shifted uncomfortably in their seats, caught between their loyalty to Mr. Thompson and their respect for him. Jamal's heart raced. His palms felt clammy as self-doubt crept in. Should he defend himself? Should he let Thompson's sarcasm slide? A part of him wanted to shrink back, to flee from the spotlight, but another part, a stronger part, fought to stay visible and assertive. He glanced at Ms. Carter, who raised an eyebrow in surprise at Thompson's behavior. That brief moment of solidarity sparked a fire within him. Jamal took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everyone's attention on him. "Actually, Mr. Thompson, I believe this app could significantly improve our team's productivity." The words hung in the air like a challenge, and for a moment the room was silent. Ms. Carter leaned in, intrigued by Jamal's sudden defiance, while Thompson's expression darkened, his smirk fading into a frown that spoke volumes. Jamal's pulse quickened, but he held his ground. The tension crackled in the air as he continued. "This app addresses the communication gaps we've been facing. With features designed to keep our teams connected, I believe it can save us time and reduce the frustration that often accompanies poor communication." Thompson's eyes narrowed, but before he could respond, Jamal pressed on, the words flowing more easily now. He detailed the app's capabilities, his passion for the project shining through. The atmosphere began to shift. Colleagues leaned forward, their interest piqued. Jamal spoke of the app's ability to integrate with existing tools, how it could streamline workflows, and the potential for team collaboration to flourish. Imagine a platform where you can communicate, manage tasks, and share documents all in one place. That's what this app offers. It's all about making our work lives easier. As he wrapped up his presentation, he felt a swell of confidence. He had faced Thompson's challenge and emerged stronger. The applause that followed felt like a victory, and he couldn't help but smile. But as the meeting adjourned, the sense of triumph was short-lived. Jamal glanced at Mr. Thompson, who was glaring at him with barely concealed disdain. Jamal's stomach twisted as he realized that the real battle was only just beginning. After the meeting, Jamal returned to his desk, adrenaline still coursing through his veins. He felt buoyed by the support of his colleagues, but knew better than to let his guard down. As he settled into his chair, he opened his email to find a message from Mr. Thompson, the subject line sending a chill down his spine. Immediate action required. With a sinking feeling, he clicked on it. The email was laced with condescension, stating, "I expect you to prove your worth, Jamal. Don't disappoint me. I've assigned you a last-minute project that needs to be completed by the end of the week. Consider this your opportunity to show your dedication." Panic surged through him as he read the words. This wasn't just a project. It was a deliberate attempt to sabotage the confidence he had just built. His heart sank as he realized that Mr. Thompson was intent on making his life difficult. The fluorescent lights in the office buzzed overhead as he leaned back in his chair, frustration bubbling inside him. Was this how it was going to be? Just when he thought he had made progress, Thompson was ready to pull the rug out from under him. Determined not to let Thompson win, Jamal rolled up his sleeves and dove into the work. He stayed late at the office, poring over his notes and typing furiously to meet the unreasonable deadline. The hum of the lights was a constant reminder of the pressure he was under. "I can do this. I have to do this," he muttered to himself, trying to drown out the doubts threatening to creep in. The hours dragged on, but he forced himself to focus, determined to rise to the challenge. As he worked, his mind was a whirlwind of ideas and strategies. He needed to impress Thompson, but more than that, he needed to prove to himself that he could overcome this obstacle. He poured every ounce of energy into the project, fueled by a mix of ambition and anxiety. Finally, he felt he had something substantial. As he prepared to leave for the night, Jamal glanced around the nearly empty office, feeling a sense of satisfaction wash over him. He had worked hard, and he was ready to face whatever Thompson would throw at him next. The next day, Jamal entered the break room to grab a cup of coffee, hoping to clear his head before diving back into his project. He was surprised to find Mr. Thompson there, pouring himself a cup with an air of nonchalance. "Hey, Jamal," Thompson said, his tone casual, but Jamal could sense the underlying tension. "How's that project coming along? I hope you're not getting too comfortable." Jamal gathered his courage, refusing to let Thompson's condescension intimidate him. "I'm working on the project you assigned me. I just want to make sure it meets your expectations." Thompson sneered, leaning against the counter as he took a slow sip of his coffee. "Don't get too comfortable, Jamal. Remember your place. You're still trying to prove yourself in this company." Jamal clenched his jaw, fighting the urge to react. Instead, he forced a smile, determined not to give Thompson the satisfaction of seeing him flustered. "I'll make sure it's up to par. You'll see." "Let's hope so," Thompson replied, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "I wouldn't want to be the one to have to explain to Ms. Carter why we wasted resources on your little distractions." With that, Thompson strode out of the break room, leaving Jamal seething. The encounter fueled a fire within him. He had to reclaim his work and his confidence. He would not let Thompson's intimidation win. As he returned to his desk, a sense of resolve washed over him. Jamal knew he had to confront the challenges ahead with determination. He would finish the project and show everyone, especially Thompson, that he was capable of succeeding in this high-pressure environment. The following day, as Jamal prepared to finalize his project, he discovered that his prototype had been tampered with. Files were missing, and his coding was corrupted. Panic surged through him as he realized that Mr. Thompson was behind the sabotage. This was the final straw. Jamal's heart raced as he frantically searched through his folders, desperately hoping to find a backup. His mind raced with possibilities. How could he confront Thompson without jeopardizing his position? He had to reclaim his work. Jamal's resolve strengthened. He couldn't let Thompson's underhanded tactics defeat him. He needed to gather evidence and confront Thompson directly. He was done being a victim. That evening, he stayed late once again, retracing his steps and gathering what little information he could salvage from his corrupted files. As the fluorescent lights flickered overhead, he felt a surge of determination. He would not let this setback define him. "Tomorrow, I confront him," Jamal vowed quietly to himself, his fingers flying over the keyboard as he rebuilt his project from the ground up. When he finally called it a night, exhaustion hung heavy on his shoulders. But there was also a sense of purpose. He was ready to take a stand. The confrontation with Thompson was inevitable, and Jamal was prepared to fight for what he had worked so hard to achieve. The next morning dawned gray and overcast, a fitting backdrop for the storm brewing inside Jamal. After a restless night filled with thoughts of confrontation and sabotage, he arrived at the office with a singular focus. He needed to reclaim his work and confront Mr. Thompson about the tampering. As he walked through the bustling office, he could feel the weight of the gazes from his colleagues, some sympathetic, others reluctant to get involved. He paused at his desk, taking a deep breath before diving back into the project he had painstakingly rebuilt. The remnants of the prototype glowed on his screen, a testament to his determination. With every keystroke, Jamal felt a rising tide of defiance. This was more than just an app. It was a symbol of his worth in a place that had been hostile toward him. He was determined to prove that he belonged and that he could make a significant contribution. Just as he began to lose himself in the work, the oppressive presence of Mr. Thompson loomed nearby, his shadow casting a pall over Jamal's desk. Jamal's heart raced, and he could feel the tension in the air sharpen as Thompson approached. "Jamal," Thompson began, his tone dripping with condescension, "I hope you're not wasting too much time on that prototype. Remember, we have deadlines to meet, and I expect results, not excuses." Jamal clenched his fists under the desk, fighting the urge to lash out. "I'm working diligently on the project, Mr. Thompson. I'm confident I'll meet the deadline." "Confidence doesn't cut it around here," Thompson shot back, his eyes narrowing. "You need to show tangible progress. I expect a report on my desk by the end of the day detailing your progress. Don't make me regret giving you this opportunity." Jamal felt a surge of frustration but forced himself to respond with composure. "Understood, Mr. Thompson. I'll ensure you receive the report." As Thompson turned to leave, Jamal felt the weight of his words hanging in the air like a challenge. The man thrived on intimidation, but Jamal was done being a victim. He would gather the evidence he needed and confront Thompson once and for all. The hours ticked by as Jamal worked feverishly to finalize his project. He pored over every detail, determined to make it perfect. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as he typed, his focus unwavering. Each keystroke felt like a declaration of his resolve against Thompson's undermining tactics. As the clock inched toward noon, Jamal decided to take a quick break. He needed a moment to clear his head, to remind himself that he was capable of succeeding despite the obstacles in his way. He walked to the break room, hoping for a moment of solitude. But as he entered, he found Lisa pouring a cup of coffee. She looked up and smiled, her expression warm and supportive. "Hey, Jamal, how's it going?" "Trying to keep my head above water," he replied, forcing a smile. "Thompson's been breathing down my neck about the project." Lisa frowned, concern etched on her face. "I heard about the prototype getting messed with. That's terrible. Have you confronted him yet?" Jamal shook around his head, the weight of doubt creeping back in. "Not yet. I'm gathering evidence and trying to ensure the project is solid before I approach him." "Good idea, but don't let him intimidate you," Lisa said, her tone firm. "You've worked too hard for this. You deserve to be heard." "Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate your support," Jamal replied, feeling the warmth of her encouragement. He needed allies in this cutthroat environment, and Lisa was a steadfast friend. As they chatted, Jamal felt a flicker of hope. Maybe he wasn't alone in this battle after all. He finished his coffee and returned to his desk, fueled by a renewed sense of determination. The afternoon dragged on, and Jamal continued to refine his project, implementing the suggestions he had gathered from his colleagues. The app was taking shape, and he felt a surge of pride in what he was creating. But with every passing moment, he sensed the impending confrontation with Mr. Thompson looming closer. Finally, the clock struck 5. Jamal took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. He had prepared a report detailing his progress, complete with metrics and user feedback. It was time to face Thompson and demand accountability for his actions. As he approached Thompson's office, Jamal's heart raced. He knocked on the door, and after a brief pause, Thompson called out, "Come in." Jamal stepped inside, his palms clammy, but his resolve firm. "Mr. Thompson, I wanted to discuss my project and the recent issues I've encountered." Thompson looked up from his desk, a mixture of annoyance and curiosity flickering in his eyes. "What now, Jamal? I thought I was clear about my expectations." "I've prepared a report detailing my progress," Jamal said, holding out the document. "But I also wanted to address the tampering of my prototype. It's affecting my ability to deliver results." Thompson's expression hardened. "Tampering, you say? That's a serious accusation, Jamal. Are you sure you're not just looking for excuses?" "Excuses?" Jamal's voice rose, his frustration bubbling over. "I've worked tirelessly on this project, and I've gathered evidence that my files were altered. I need your support to ensure this project succeeds." "Support?" Thompson scoffed, leaning back in his chair. "You expect me to believe that this isn't just your incompetence showing?" Jamal took a step closer, his heart pounding. "No, Mr. Thompson. I believe someone is actively trying to sabotage my work. I need you to acknowledge that this behavior is unacceptable." Thompson's eyes narrowed, and for a moment the tension in the room was palpable. Jamal stood his ground, refusing to back down. He had fought too hard to let Thompson's intimidation tactics win. Finally, Thompson sighed, irritation etched across his face. "I'll look into it, but you need to focus on delivering results, Jamal. This company doesn't have time for distractions." Jamal nodded, feeling a mix of relief and frustration. "I will, but I also expect you to take my concerns seriously. As he left Thompson's office, he felt a surge of adrenaline. He had confronted Thompson, but the battle was far from over. He needed to stay vigilant and continue to prove his worth. The weeks passed, and Jamal worked tirelessly to gather data and address the feedback he had received. He organized additional user testing sessions, determined to ensure the app's success. But the specter of Thompson's intimidation loomed over him like a cloud. One afternoon, as Jamal was wrapping up a testing session, he received a message that sent a chill down his spine. It was from Ms. Carter, requesting an urgent meeting. "What now?" he muttered under his breath, anxiety gnawing at him. He quickly replied, confirming his availability. When the day of the meeting arrived, Jamal felt a knot of apprehension in his stomach. He entered Ms. Carter's office, ready to hear what she had to say. "Thank you for coming, Jamal," Ms. Carter said, her expression serious. "I wanted to discuss the feedback I've received regarding the app and your progress." Jamal nodded, bracing himself for the news. "Of course, Ms. Carter, I'm eager to hear what everyone thinks." "I've heard mostly positive things," she said, her tone encouraging. "However, there are some concerns about the timeline and the recent challenges you faced with Mr. Thompson." Jamal felt a surge of frustration. "I've been doing my best to address those challenges. Thompson has been difficult, but I'm committed to making this app a success." Ms. Carter nodded, her expression sympathetic. "I understand. I want to support you, but we need to ensure that you're on track to deliver results. Do you feel confident that you can meet the deadlines?" "I do," Jamal replied, determination lacing his voice. "But I need the support of the team to make it happen." "Let's work together to ensure you have the resources you need," Ms. Carter said, her tone reassuring. "I believe in your potential, Jamal. Don't let Thompson's negativity get to you." As he left the meeting, Jamal felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had the support of Ms. Carter, and he was determined to push through the challenges ahead. That evening, at home, Jamal sat at his kitchen table, the faint glow of his laptop illuminating the space. He reflected on the day's events, feeling the weight of the struggle he faced. The pressure from Thompson was relentless, but he was not willing to back down. He opened his laptop and began to draft a plan for the next phase of the app's development. He would gather more user feedback, implement new features, and present solid metrics to demonstrate the app's value. As he worked late into the night, he felt a sense of clarity. This was his moment to shine, and he was determined to prove that he belonged in this competitive environment. The challenges he faced were only fueling his drive to succeed. With renewed determination, Jamal closed his laptop and prepared for bed, ready to face the next day with confidence. He would confront Thompson again, but this time, he would have the evidence and support he needed to back him up. The following morning was a stark contrast to the previous weeks of tension and uncertainty. Jamal woke up early. The sunlight streaming through his window felt like a fresh start. He had a plan to gather data and feedback that would not only showcase the app's improvements, but also demonstrate his dedication to the project. He was determined to regain control over his work and prove his worth to the team, especially to Mr. Thompson. After a quick breakfast, he arrived at the office, energized and ready to tackle the day. He immediately set to work, reviewing the user feedback he had collected from the recent testing sessions. He meticulously organized the data, looking for patterns and insights that could help him refine the app further. As he sifted through the comments, he noticed a recurring theme. Users loved the new calendar feature, but wished for more integration with their daily workflows. "If we could make the calendar sync with personal calendars, that would be a game changer," he muttered to himself, jotting down notes. The morning passed quickly as Jamal worked, his focus unwavering. He was in the zone, their world fading away as he fine-tuned the app. He felt a sense of purpose, a stark contrast to the self-doubt that had plagued him in the past. But as the clock struck noon, reality crashed back in when he spotted Mr. Thompson approaching his desk. "Jamal," Thompson said, his tone clipped, "I need to speak with you about your progress." Jamal's heart raced. "Of course, Mr. Thompson. I've been gathering feedback and working on the next steps for the app." Thompson leaned against the edge of Jamal's desk, arms crossed. "Is that so? Let's see some numbers. I don't want to hear about user feedback. I want to see metrics that demonstrate real improvement." Jamal felt a surge of frustration. "I'm compiling those metrics now. I believe the app's performance has improved significantly, especially since implementing the calendar feature. Believe isn't enough. I need to see tangible results. If you can't deliver, I won't hesitate to pull the plug on this project, Thompson warned, his eyes narrowing. Jamal forced himself to nod, suppressing the anger bubbling within him. I understand, Mr. Thompson. I'm committed to making this app work, and I'll have those numbers for you soon. Thompson straightened, a smirk playing on his lips as he turned to leave. You better. Don't make me regret trusting you with this. Jamal watched him walk away, a mix of determination and frustration coursing through him. He was tired of being undermined, and it was time to take action. He needed to gather the data Thompson demanded and prove that he was capable of delivering results. The rest of the afternoon was a blur of activity as Jamal worked diligently. He compiled the user feedback and performance metrics, poring over the data to ensure accuracy. The more he delved into the numbers, the more confident he felt about the app's potential. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the office, Jamal finally finished his report. He leaned back in his chair, fatigue washing over him, but the satisfaction of hard work kept him energized. He had done it. He had gathered the evidence he needed to confront Thompson. Just as he was about to leave for the day, Jamal received a notification on his phone. It was a message from Lisa. Hey, are you free for a quick chat? Curious, Jamal replied, Sure, what's up? A few moments later, Lisa appeared at his desk, her expression serious. I just wanted to check in. I heard about the meeting with Thompson. How did it go? Jamal sighed, running a hand through his hair. It was as expected. He's still skeptical about the app's potential and wants hard numbers to back it up. Did you manage to get any feedback from the users? Lisa asked, concern evident in her voice. I did. In fact, I just compiled a report with all the metrics. I'm planning to present it to Thompson tomorrow, Jamal replied, a hint of pride in his voice. Good. You've worked hard on this. Just remember, you have the support of the team. Don't let Thompson intimidate you, Lisa encouraged, placing a hand on his shoulder. Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate it. I just want to prove that I can do this, Jamal said, feeling the weight of her support lift some of the pressure off his shoulders. As they chatted, Jamal felt the camaraderie of their team strengthening his resolve. He wasn't alone in this battle. He had allies who believed in him. With that thought, he wrapped up his work for the day, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The next morning, Jamal arrived at the office feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety. He had prepared his report, and now it was time to present it to Mr. Thompson. He set up his laptop in the conference room, ensuring everything was in order for the meeting. As the clock ticked closer to the meeting time, Jamal could feel the tension building in his stomach. He reviewed his notes one last time, mentally rehearsing the key points he wanted to emphasize. This was his chance to shine, and he couldn't afford to let fear hold him back. When Thompson entered the conference room, Jamal felt a chill run down his spine. The man carried an air of authority, and his expression was unreadable. Jamal took a deep breath, steeling himself for the confrontation. Let's get started, Thompson said, taking a seat at the head of the table. Jamal followed suit, positioning his laptop in front of him. Thank you for meeting with me today, Mr. Thompson. I'm excited to share the latest metrics and feedback regarding the app. Jamal began, trying to project confidence. Thompson nodded but didn't say anything, his gaze piercing as he waited for Jamal to continue. Jamal clicked through his presentation, showcasing the data he had gathered. Since implementing the calendar feature, we've seen a 70% increase in user engagement. Feedback from the team has been overwhelmingly positive, with many expressing appreciation for the added functionality. He glanced at Thompson, who remained silent, his expression inscrutable. Jamal pressed on, determined to make his case. Users have reported that the app has streamlined their workflows, reducing the time spent on communication by nearly 50%. This is a significant improvement that I believe will positively impact our productivity as a team. As he presented, Jamal could feel the tension in the room. He was pouring his heart into the presentation, and he needed Thompson to see the value in what he was doing. Thompson leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. Those numbers sound impressive, Jamal, but I need more than just user testimonials. I want to see how this app will contribute to our bottom line. Metrics are important, but financial impact is paramount. Jamal felt a pang of frustration. I understand, but the app is still in its early stages. We're gathering data to measure its long-term impact, and the initial feedback suggests a positive trajectory. Positive trajectory isn't enough, Jamal. I need concrete evidence that this app is worth the investment, Thompson replied, his tone sharp. Jamal's heart raced, but he took a deep breath, refusing to let Thompson's intimidation get the best of him. I'm committed to gathering that evidence, and I believe that with continued support, we can refine the app to maximize its impact on our team. Thompson narrowed his eyes, contemplating Jamal's words. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but enthusiasm doesn't pay the bills. I need you to present a more concrete plan for how this app will generate value for the company in the next quarter. I will, Mr. Thompson. I'll work on a detailed plan and present it to you by the end of next week, Jamal replied, determination lacing his voice. As the meeting concluded, Jamal felt a mix of relief and frustration. He had presented his case, but the uncertainty of Thompson's expectations loomed large. He needed to gather more data and demonstrate the app's financial value. Over the next few days, Jamal threw himself into his work, determined to gather the evidence Thompson demanded. He organized additional testing sessions, reaching out to users and asking for their insights on how the app had affected their productivity. As he delved deeper into the data, he realized that he needed to take his findings a step further. He began analyzing the time saved through the app's features, calculating the potential financial impact based on employee hours saved. The more he worked, the more he felt a surge of confidence. He was uncovering valuable insights that could bolster his case and demonstrate the app's worth to the company. He meticulously compiled the data into a comprehensive report, ready to present to Thompson. But just as Jamal started feeling optimistic, he overheard a conversation between Thompson and another manager in the hallway. If Jamal doesn't step it up, we might have to cut our losses, Thompson said, his tone dismissive. Jamal's heart sank at the words. How could Thompson be so callous? He had poured his heart and soul into this project, and it felt like Thompson was just waiting for him to fail. Determined not to let Thompson's negativity derail him, Jamal continued to work diligently. He organized a follow-up feedback session with users, eager to gather more insights that could help strengthen his case. When the day of the feedback session arrived, Jamal was filled with anticipation. He had invited users from different teams, encouraging them to share their experiences and suggestions. As they gathered in the conference room, he felt a sense of excitement mixed with apprehension. This was a crucial opportunity to demonstrate the app's value directly from the users' perspectives. Thank you all for coming today, Jamal began, standing at the front of the room. I appreciate your willingness to share your thoughts on the app. Your feedback is invaluable as we work to make it better. He glanced around the room, noting the eager faces of his colleagues. Today, I'd like to hear what you love about the app, what could be improved, and any features you'd like to see in the future. As the discussion unfolded, Jamal listened intently, jotting down notes as users expressed their thoughts. They praised the calendar feature, highlighting how it had helped them keep track of deadlines and meetings. A user from the marketing team chimed in, "The sync with our personal calendars has been a lifesaver. It keeps everything organized in one place." Encouraged by the positive feedback, Jamal pressed for more details. What specific improvements would you like to see? Are there any features you feel are missing? One of the developers spoke up. I think a project management tool integrated into the app would be great. We could streamline our tasks and communicate directly about ongoing projects without switching between different platforms. Jamal nodded, taking notes. That's an excellent suggestion. We'll definitely look into incorporating project management functionalities. Any other ideas? Another user added, a reporting feature that tracks our progress on tasks would be fantastic. It would help us visualize our productivity and keep everyone accountable. Jamal felt a rush of inspiration as the ideas flowed. This feedback session was exactly what he needed to bolster his findings and provide Thompson with concrete evidence of the app's potential. By the end of the session, he had a wealth of insights that he could utilize in his upcoming presentation. Thank you all for your valuable input today, Jamal said, his heart swelling with gratitude. Your feedback will directly influence our next steps, and I'm excited to implement these improvements. As the users began to leave, Jamal felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had allies within the company who believed in the app's potential, and he was determined to harness that support to confront Thompson with solid evidence. The following week arrived, and Jamal worked tirelessly to compile his findings into a comprehensive report. He included user testimonials, performance metrics, and detailed plans for the new features based on the feedback he had gathered. Each section of the report was meticulously crafted, and he felt a sense of pride in what he was presenting. On the day of the presentation, he arrived at the conference room early, setting up his laptop and preparing his slides. The air was thick with anticipation as his colleagues filed in, offering him encouraging smiles and nods of support. Lisa arrived last, taking a seat beside him. "You've got this, Jamal. Just remember to breathe," she whispered. When Mr. Thompson entered the room, Jamal felt the familiar pang of anxiety. Thompson's expression was serious, his arms crossed as he took a seat at the head of the table. Jamal took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Let's get started," Thompson said, his voice authoritative. Jamal nodded and began his presentation, detailing the user feedback he had collected, the metrics he had analyzed, and the potential financial impact of the app. "The recent feedback indicates that our users have experienced a 70% increase in engagement since the calendar feature was implemented," Jamal stated, projecting the statistics onto the screen. Moreover, users report saving an average of 2 hours a week due to streamlined communication, which translates to significant productivity gains. As he continued, Jamal could see Thompson's eyes narrowing, his skepticism palpable. "I've also gathered suggestions for new features, such as an integrated project management tool and enhanced reporting functionalities. These additions would further increase user satisfaction and efficiency." Thompson leaned back, arms crossed. "Impressive numbers, Jamal, but I still need to see a clear connection between these features and our bottom line. How will these improvements translate into actual savings for the company?" Jamal felt a surge of frustration but fought to keep his composure. Incorporating these features would not only enhance user engagement, but also reduce the time spent on redundant tasks. If we can save 2 hours per employee per week, that adds up to significant cost savings for the company in the long run. Thompson remained silent, his expression unreadable. Jamal pressed on, determined to make his case. "I propose that we run a pilot program with the new features implemented and track the impact on productivity over a quarter. This would provide us with concrete data to demonstrate the app's financial viability." The room fell silent as Thompson considered Jamal's proposal. Jamal's heart raced. This was his chance to turn the tide. "While I appreciate your enthusiasm, we still need to ensure that this app aligns with our strategic goals," Thompson finally replied, though there was a hint of uncertainty in his tone. "I'll take your proposal into consideration, but I expect you to follow through with results." "Absolutely, Mr. Thompson," Jamal replied, relief flooding through him. He had made his case, and he felt a sense of accomplishment wash over him. As the days passed, Jamal remained focused on executing his plan. He organized the pilot program, ensuring that the necessary features were implemented and that users were prepared to provide feedback throughout the trial. He felt a renewed sense of purpose, fueled by the support of his colleagues and the belief that he could make a difference. During the pilot program, Jamal worked closely with users, gathering insights and continuously refining the app. He monitored the metrics diligently, eager to demonstrate the app's impact on productivity and communication. However, as the weeks progressed, Jamal couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Mr. Thompson's scrutiny had intensified once again, and the manager seemed to be waiting for any opportunity to undermine Jamal's efforts. One afternoon, as Jamal was reviewing the latest metrics, he heard a knock on his office door. He looked up to find Thompson standing there, arms crossed and a scowl on his face. "Jamal," Thompson said, his tone sharp, "I want an update on this pilot program. I expect to see numbers that prove this app is worth our time and investment." Jamal felt his heart race. "I'm currently compiling the data, Mr. Thompson. I can assure you that initial feedback has been overwhelmingly positive, and users are reporting increased productivity. Positive feedback isn't enough. I need to see hard numbers. If you can't deliver, I won't hesitate to recommend shutting down this project," Thompson said, his eyes piercing. Jamal clenched his jaw, fighting the urge to respond defensively. "I understand, and I'm committed to ensuring this app delivers results. I'll have the metrics ready for you by the end of the week." Thompson nodded, but the skepticism in his eyes lingered. "You better follow through, Jamal. I'm counting on you to prove your worth." As Thompson left, Jamal felt a wave of frustration wash over him. The pressure was mounting, and he knew he had to deliver tangible results to keep the app alive. He couldn't let Thompson's intimidation tactics break him. Determined to succeed, Jamal dedicated himself to gathering the data Thompson demanded. He worked late into the night, poring over the metrics and compiling user feedback. The pressure was immense, but he refused to let it overwhelm him. As the deadline approached, Jamal felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. He had put in countless hours, and now it was time to present his findings. He meticulously prepared his report, ensuring that it highlighted the app's impact on productivity and user satisfaction. On the day of the presentation, Jamal arrived at the office early, ready to showcase the results of the pilot program. He set up the conference room, double-checking his notes and preparing to face Thompson once again. When the time came for the meeting, Jamal stood at the front of the room, his heart pounding in his chest. His colleagues filed in, some offering him encouraging smiles and nods of support. As Thompson entered last, the atmosphere shifted. "Let's get started," Thompson said, taking his seat at the head of the table. Jamal felt the weight of his gaze and steeled himself for the confrontation. "Thank you for joining me today," Jamal began, projecting his voice with sense of purpose. This was his chance to gather the evidence he needed to prove the app's worth. "Thank you all for being here today," Jamal began, addressing the group. "I'm excited to hear your thoughts on the app and how it's been impacting your work." The users shared their experiences, praising the app's features and the way it had streamlined their communication and collaboration. Jamal listened intently, jotting down notes and asking follow-up questions to gather as much insight as possible. One user, a project manager named Sarah, spoke up. "The calendar integration has been a game changer for my team. We're able to stay on top of deadlines and coordinate our schedules so much more efficiently." Another user, a software engineer named Mark, added, "The instant messaging feature has really cut down on the back and forth in our daily stand-up meetings. We're able to get more done in less time." As the session progressed, Jamal felt a surge of optimism. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive, and he could see the tangible impact the app was having on the team's productivity. This was the evidence he needed to present to Mr. Thompson. When the session concluded, Jamal thanked the users for their time and input. He felt energized, ready to compile the data and present it to Thompson with confidence. The following day, Jamal arrived at the office early, eager to finalize his presentation. He spent the morning reviewing the feedback and metrics, ensuring everything was polished and ready to impress. As the clock struck 2 p.m., Jamal made his way to the conference room, his heart racing with anticipation. He set up his laptop, taking a deep breath to steady his nerves. This was his chance to prove himself and secure the future of the app. When Mr. Thompson arrived, the room fell silent. Jamal could feel the weight of his gaze as the manager took his seat at the head of the table. "Let's begin," Thompson said, his tone neutral. Jamal launched into his presentation, highlighting the key findings from the user feedback session. He showcased the metrics that demonstrated the app's positive impact on productivity and communication, emphasizing the financial implications. "Based on the data we've gathered, the app has resulted in a 20% reduction in time spent on daily communication tasks," Jamal explained, his voice steady. "This translates to an estimated cost savings of over $50,000 per quarter for our team." Thompson's eyebrows rose slightly, and Jamal felt a surge of hope. He continued, "Furthermore, the calendar integration has helped teams coordinate more efficiently, leading to a 15% increase in project completion rates. This directly impacts our bottom line." As Jamal presented, he could see Ms. Carter leaning forward, her expression engaged. The other managers in the room also seemed intrigued by the data. When Jamal finished, he waited with bated breath for Thompson's response. The manager leaned back in his chair, his gaze thoughtful. "These numbers are promising, Jamal," Thompson said, his tone less critical than before. "I'm impressed by the financial impact you've been able to quantify." Jamal felt a wave of relief wash over him. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I'm committed to ensuring this app continues to deliver value to the team." Thompson nodded. "I appreciate your dedication. However, I still need to see consistent long-term results. This is just the beginning. Keep up the good work, and we'll revisit the app's future in the coming months." As the meeting concluded, Jamal felt a sense of accomplishment. He had faced Thompson's skepticism and emerged with his support. At least for the time being, the path ahead was still uncertain, but Jamal was determined to prove the app's worth. In the weeks that followed, Jamal continued to monitor the app's performance closely. He worked closely with the team, gathering feedback and implementing new features based on user needs. The collaborative effort was invigorating, and Jamal felt a growing sense of camaraderie among his colleagues. However, the specter of Mr. Thompson's scrutiny never seemed to fade. Jamal could feel the manager's presence looming over him, waiting for any sign of weakness or failure. The pressure was relentless, but Jamal refused to let it consume him. One afternoon, as Jamal was deep in thought, his phone buzzed with a message from Lisa. "Hey, Jamal, have you heard about the new initiative Thompson is pushing? I think he's trying to cut costs." Jamal's heart raced. "No, I haven't heard anything." "What do you mean?" "I overheard him talking to one of the other managers about potentially scaling back on some projects. I'm worried it could impact the app." Jamal felt a wave of anxiety wash over him. He couldn't afford to lose everything he had worked so hard for. "Thanks for the heads up, Lisa. I'll keep an eye out for any updates." As the days passed, Jamal remained vigilant, focusing on gathering data and demonstrating the app's continued effectiveness. He organized additional user testing sessions, ensuring that the feedback they received informed their development process. However, as the month drew to a close, Jamal could feel the tension in the office rising. Thompson's demeanor grew increasingly critical, and Jamal could sense that the manager was preparing to make a significant decision regarding the app's future. Finally, one afternoon, Jamal found himself summoned to Thompson's office once more. As he entered, he felt a familiar knot of anxiety tighten in his stomach. "Sit down, Jamal," Thompson said, his tone serious. "I've been reviewing the app's performance, and I have some concerns that we need to address immediately." Jamal took a seat, bracing himself for the worst. "I understand, Mr. Thompson. I've been working hard to ensure that the app continues to meet our team's needs and to gather data on its effectiveness." Thompson leaned forward, his fingers steepled. "While you've made progress, I'm concerned about sustainability. The recent metrics show fluctuations in user engagement, and I need to know why that's happening." Jamal felt his heart race. "I've noticed that too, and I believe it may be due to users adapting to the new features. Change can be challenging, but I'm actively gathering feedback to address any issues users are facing." "Gathering feedback is one thing, but I need you to take immediate action," Thompson replied sharply. "If we can't stabilize user engagement soon, I will have to recommend that we reconsider the app's viability." Jamal felt a wave of frustration wash over him. "I assure you, Mr. Thompson, I'm fully committed to making this app a success. I'll work with the team to analyze the feedback we've received and implement necessary changes right away." "Good," Thompson said, his tone slightly softened. "But I want to see a plan of action by the end of the week. No excuses." As Jamal left the office, he felt a mix of determination and anxiety. He knew that the situation was critical, and he had to act quickly to prove the app's value. He refused to let Thompson's doubts derail his progress. The following days were a blur of activity as Jamal worked tirelessly with his team to analyze the feedback and identify the reasons for the fluctuations in user engagement. He organized a series of brainstorming sessions, encouraging everyone to share their insights and suggestions for improvement. During one of the meetings, Lisa spoke up. "I think we should consider hosting a user feedback session. It would give us direct insight into what users are experiencing and allow them to feel involved in the development process." Jamal nodded, feeling inspired by the idea. "That's a fantastic suggestion, Lisa. We can gather valuable insights and build stronger relationships with our users." As they discussed the logistics, Jamal felt a renewed sense of hope. He believed that by involving users in the process, they could gain the clarity they needed to improve the app and stabilize engagement. After finalizing the plans for the feedback session, Jamal sent out invitations to users across different teams, encouraging them to share their thoughts and experiences with the app. He felt optimistic about the potential outcomes. When the day of the user feedback session arrived, Jamal set up the conference room, eager to hear directly from the users. As participants filtered in, he greeted them with enthusiasm, grateful for their willingness to share their insights. "Thank you all for being here today," Jamal began, addressing the group. "We're excited to hear your thoughts on the app and how we can improve it to better meet your needs." As the session progressed, Jamal took notes diligently, listening to the users' feedback. They shared their experiences, both positive and negative, and offered valuable suggestions for enhancements. One user spoke up. "I love the new calendar feature, but I think it could be improved by adding reminders for upcoming deadlines and events. That would help keep us on track." Jamal nodded. That's a great idea. We'll definitely look into adding reminder functionalities. Another user mentioned, sometimes the app feels a bit overwhelming with all the features. It would be helpful to have a tutorial or guided tour when new features are released. Jamal made a note, feeling grateful for the constructive feedback. Thank you for that suggestion. We can work on creating helpful resources to guide users through new features. As the session concluded, Jamal felt a sense of accomplishment. The insights gathered were invaluable, and he was excited to implement the suggested improvements. He knew that the user engagement would stabilize as they addressed their concerns. In the following days, Jamal and his team worked diligently on the feedback they had received. They prioritized the most requested features and began implementing changes to streamline the app's functionality. As they rolled out the updates, Jamal felt a renewed sense of optimism. He communicated regularly with the users, keeping them informed about the changes and encouraging them to continue providing feedback. However, just as things seemed to be improving, Jamal received yet another email from Mr. Thompson requesting a meeting. This time, his heart sank at the thought of what it could mean. When the day of the meeting arrived, Jamal entered Thompson's office, feeling the weight of uncertainty. "You wanted to see me, Mr. Thompson?" "Yes, Jamal," Thompson replied, his tone serious. "I've been reviewing the latest metrics, and while I appreciate your efforts to stabilize user engagement, I still have concerns." Jamal swallowed hard. "I understand. We've been implementing the changes based on user feedback, and I believe they will positively impact engagement." "Belief isn't enough, Jamal," Thompson said, his voice sharp. "I need to see measurable results. If user engagement doesn't stabilize soon, we will have to reconsider the future of this app." Jamal felt a wave of frustration but maintained his composure. "I assure you, Mr. Thompson, I'm fully committed to ensuring this app's success. We're actively working on the feedback we gathered, and I'm confident that we will see improvements." "Confidence is good, but I need data," Thompson replied, leaning back in his chair. "I suggest you set up a follow-up feedback session in a few weeks to gauge the effectiveness of your changes." "Absolutely. I'll get that organized right away," Jamal said, determination lacing his voice. "I'm committed to making this work." As he left Thompson's office, Jamal felt a mix of determination and anxiety. He had to prove himself, not just to Thompson, but also to everyone who had supported him. The path ahead was still fraught with challenges, but he was ready to face them head-on. Jamal has navigated the challenges posed by Mr. Thompson and is now preparing for a follow-up feedback session that could determine the future of the app. The days leading up to the follow-up feedback session felt like a blur of anxiety and determination for Jamal. He had worked tirelessly to implement the changes based on user feedback, and now it was time to present the results. The pressure from Mr. Thompson weighed heavily on him, but he refused to let it deter his resolve. As the day of the feedback session arrived, Jamal set up the conference room, arranging chairs and preparing the presentation. He felt a mix of excitement and nerves, but the support of his colleagues bolstered his confidence. Lisa and several others arrived early to help, offering words of encouragement. "You've got this, Jamal," Lisa said, giving him a reassuring pat on the back. "Just remember, you've done the work. Trust in your abilities." "Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate it," Jamal replied, feeling the warmth of camaraderie around him. He needed this support now more than ever. When the users began to filter into the room, Jamal greeted them with enthusiasm. "Thank you all for coming today. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on the recent updates we've made to the app." As the session commenced, Jamal presented the changes made based on user feedback, highlighting the newly added reminder features and the tutorial designed to help users navigate the app more easily. He could see the interest in their eyes as he spoke. Since implementing these changes, we've seen a steady increase in user engagement. Many of you have shared how the calendar reminders have helped you stay on track with deadlines, Jamal said, his voice steady. Feedback flowed freely, with users expressing their appreciation for the modifications. "The tutorial was incredibly helpful. I finally feel like I understand how to use all the features," one user remarked, a smile on their face. Jamal felt a swell of pride at the positive responses. The users were excited about the app's potential, and it was evident that the improvements were making a difference in their daily workflows. As the session concluded, Jamal felt a renewed sense of hope. He had gathered valuable insights and solidified the app's position within the team. The atmosphere was electric, filled with optimism about the future. However, the victory was short-lived. The following day, as Jamal prepared to present the feedback to Mr. Thompson, his heart raced with apprehension. He knew how critical Thompson could be, and he needed to be prepared for potential backlash. As he entered Thompson's office, he was greeted with the manager's usual stern demeanor. "You wanted to discuss the feedback from the session?" Thompson asked, barely looking up from his papers. "Yes, Mr. Thompson. The follow-up session was incredibly positive. Users appreciate the new features, and there's a clear increase in engagement metrics," Jamal replied, trying to project confidence. Thompson finally looked up, his expression unreadable. "Positive feedback is nice, but it means little if it doesn't translate into measurable results. What do the numbers say?" Jamal took a deep breath, pulling out his report. "Since implementing the changes, we've seen a 30% increase in user engagement and a significant reduction in communication delays. The app is making a tangible impact on productivity." Thompson leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "Those numbers are promising, but I need to see consistency. One good session doesn't erase the earlier fluctuations in engagement." Jamal felt frustration bubbling beneath the surface, but held his ground. "I understand, Mr. Thompson. I'm committed to continuous improvement, and I plan to gather more data in the coming weeks. I believe we're on the right path." Thompson nodded slowly, his expression contemplative. "All right, I'll give you a chance to prove it. But if we don't see sustained results, I won't hesitate to make some hard decisions about this project." As Jamal left Thompson's office, he felt a mix of relief and determination. He had faced Thompson's skepticism head-on and stood his ground. He knew he had to continue proving himself, but for now, he had a chance to demonstrate the app's value. In the weeks that followed, Jamal worked tirelessly to maintain the app's momentum. He continued to gather user feedback and implemented further enhancements, determined to show Thompson that the app was worth the investment. He organized regular check-ins with users, ensuring they felt supported and heard. The camaraderie among his colleagues grew, and Jamal felt the sense of teamwork that had been lacking before. One afternoon, as Jamal was reviewing the latest metrics, he received a message from Ms. Carter. "Can we meet? I'd like to discuss your progress and the app's future." Jamal's heart raced. He quickly replied, confirming his availability and feeling a sense of anticipation. When they met, Ms. Carter greeted him with a warm smile. "Jamal, I wanted to commend you for your hard work. The feedback I've received has been overwhelmingly positive, and I believe in the potential of this app." "Thank you, Ms. Carter. I'm committed to making this a success, and I appreciate your support," Jamal said, his confidence growing. "I also wanted to discuss the possibility of expanding the app's capabilities further. If we can integrate more features based on user feedback, we could position ourselves as leaders in workplace communication," she suggested. Jamal felt a rush of excitement. "Absolutely. I have several ideas in mind that I believe could enhance the app even further." As they brainstormed, Jamal felt a renewed sense of purpose. With Ms. Carter's support, he was ready to push the app to new heights. As the weeks turned into months, Jamal continued to refine the app, gathering feedback and implementing improvements. He felt a sense of pride in what he had accomplished, and the support of his colleagues only fueled his determination. Finally, the day came for the quarterly review meeting where Jamal would present the app's progress to the entire team, including Mr. Thompson. He prepared meticulously, eager to showcase the results of their hard work. When the time arrived, Jamal stepped up to present, his heart racing with anticipation. As he highlighted the app's successes, he could feel the energy in the room shift. "We've achieved a 40% increase in overall productivity since implementing the app, and user satisfaction is at an all-time high," Jamal stated confidently. "I believe this app has the potential to revolutionize the way we communicate as a team." As he concluded his presentation, the room erupted in applause. Jamal beamed with pride, feeling the support of his colleagues surrounding him. Mr. Thompson stood, his expression thoughtful. "While I still have some reservations, it's clear that you've made significant progress, Jamal. I'm willing to give this app another chance, but I expect consistent results moving forward." "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I'm committed to ensuring this app continues to deliver value," Jamal replied, determination lacing his voice. As the meeting wrapped up, Jamal felt a wave of relief wash over him. He had successfully navigated the challenges posed by Mr. Thompson and had the backing of his colleagues. The future was uncertain, but Jamal was ready to face it head-on. With renewed confidence, he walked out of the meeting room, sharing a knowing look with his colleagues. They had faced the storm together, and now they were ready to shine. "Guess I really did outshine him after all," Jamal said with a grin, leaving everyone with a sense of hope and victory.